Hey, hi everyone. My name is Prakash, and welcome to the new episode of GPUs, AIs, and Beyond. And today I have my great friend Do from Independent AI to speak more about how decentralized AI is the new thing, which is something which needs to be standardized to a point and to be understood on masses by scale. Why is it the need of the hour? Because we have so many apps like ChatGPT, Claude coming up into our day-to-day use cases, but there are some things which are underlying it, and independent AI is specifically focusing on that. Do, over to you. I would love to you to tell the audience more about yourself, what you're building, and what your journey has been.
Thank you so much, Prakash, and thank you so much for having me on your show. Just a little anecdotal information for the audience. Prakash and Prashant, I believe we met in Dubai. I believe that's
Yeah,
where we
yeah,
met,
yes,
and
yes, we
and
did. Yeah,
and we bonded on the on being incensed by the vaporware of certain GPU related projects in the space. And that's
absolutely.
why that's that. I mean, immediately, like, just immediately bonded over that. I'm a partner at Exhibits. I was previously the CMO there, um, and the thing that Spheron and Exhibits have in common is offering real, actual compute in a useful manner to real AI projects, and that's what we bonded over. That's what this is my brother in that space, because there's like a push pull in the space. There's a push pull, and what it is number one, the AI that is currently on the train tracks going downhill at a million miles per hour is centralized. The open AIs, Google, AWS, the Claude, all these organizations are centralized. And really, like, what does that mean when we say centralized AI? Well, what that means in essence, or the way that Prakash and I are concerned about it, is that we're not seen behind the hood. So I throw a prompt into Chat GPT, and I'm completely trusting OpenAI and their tech team and their executives, that they're giving me a pure AI, a pure response. But we know that that's not the case. We know that when we experiment with it, that these results are leaning in different directions. And so, what does that mean for us? What that means for us is that, take social media over the past 10 years and the way that has influenced the way that we make decisions, interface with one another, decide whether we're enemies or friends, and times that by a billion. Consider that in the coming years, we're going to have potentially an exocortex, which means that we're using AI as an operating system for our lives. And if you take that and then consider that these entities have a say in the information or in the interfacing, that's a very dangerous game to play. So I said a lot right there, but I'll back up. The Independent AI Institute, which is what I'm leading right now with the 6079 team and with Wire Network. The point of the Independent AI Institute is to bring organizations like Spheron, and like Exhibits, like Ritual, like Render Network, all these AI projects that are in the decentralized space or in the independent space, and bringing them together in a way that we can share the mission, we can educate, tell the story of decentralized versus centralized AI, and ultimately have the ability to stand up to these giants like AWS, like Google, like OpenAI, as a unit, as opposed to these one-off projects that are going to market. And so that's the long answer of what I'm doing here.
And that's how beautifully you have put it, because people don't understand it, and they don't get it to a point that AI has become a pivotal part of their lives, and they do
Mhm.
not understand it today. Let's say end to end, like some of the developers nowadays are being crippled by logical thinking because they're not logically thinking. They are just going out writing edge cases or writing test cases which are already there, which are which the LLMs have been trained upon. So
Right.
let's say they are not thinking out of the box around it. And I think what I really like about independent AI is that the sovereignty around why AI should be at on top of things, but not be a a pivotal part of where it can actually manipulate your day-to-day lives. And that's what has become. Like, I don't know if you're aware of what recently happened at OpenAI. You saw that how it became from a non-profit company
To
to
a
it
profit
became a
company.
for a profit company, and then
Yeah.
people in the boards were changed and everybody loved OpenAI. Then they kind of left OpenAI, and there is a lot of struggle that is going on right now, and that happens like uh, if we really ponder about these things right now, because these are the genesis block of any companies. And if you see that these are run by personal agendas or things like that, it starts to stinks to a level like you think why this is happening. And if you truly understand that most of the things happens through, most of the game is capital game and capital world, and we have to really understand it, and we should protect it by the ethos of web3 and decentralization. That's why it was created for. So that's why I love the idea of independent AI and proof of inference, because I was speaking to Mark as well. And when he told me about proof of inference, I was like, okay, this is very interesting.
Yeah.
And how do we scale this? Like, first thing that came to my mind, like, we should scale this because this is the need of the hour. And like, as you see that we are being dependent day by day, like, because there are, and even in terms of cost of services, like, we have to truly get that. Like, I had exhibits team the other day, and like, we have to understand that if we live in a centralized world, the inflated cost of hardware to just to inference any output of from any LLM is something which is controlled by centralized partners right now. And they would take the ability from you to actually inference an output on your own. And it is a possibility. I'm not saying that it can happen in next 20 years. It can happen in next 2 to 3 years. But on the we are just on the philanthropy of big giants where they have provided their open source models and telling them that these are open source models, and in the meantime they're utilizing some other models for themselves, and that's actually fine because that's but whose data and what kind of inference? So amazing what you have been doing specifically. But how do you generally see that, okay, this project is something which has the potential to become part of the independent AI institute, and what I really see that it should be standardized? Like, what's your process into that?
So like when we vet an organization, the components are: is it decentralized? Is it open source? Is it composable, interoperable? These are some of the tenets that provide the throughput to consideration. And to your point, on data, it's like, if you consider like the fact that, if our data, our personal data, we're living in a world where in the near future, as these LLMs become more advanced and as we rely more on AI, we are going to be approved or disapproved for, an insurance policy, for a home loan, for, I mean, just the list goes on and on. And if you consider that all the information and all the data that's across the internet that we've inputted into the system, or that like we potentially could input, or that could potentially leak out in a centralized paradigm, we don't have control of that data, and we're going to be in a world where we are approved or disapproved for a home loan and have no idea why, and have no idea what to tweak. And it could be related to a test score on like when we were in high school, or an incident that
Yeah.
happened, these kind of things. And so and then from there, it could be related to your political affiliation. It could be related to, so if we don't see under the hood, if we're not involved in data provenance and data security and sovereignty, and if we're not involved in seeing under the hood of these systems that are producing these results that are ultimately going to be the operating systems of not only humanity but community, government, in the world, we're going to be we're not going to be owning, not only are we not going to be owning our intelligence, which is the first layer, but we're not going to be owning our sovereignty and our liberty at that point. So, this, and Prakash, we are, and I mean you and I, members of the of the institute and the consortium, we're the pioneers of this technology. When like in 10 years, we're going to look back to now, and we will be recognized as the pioneers. And it's like, so this is where we find ourselves in time and space, is in this very unique position. And I want my son, like I want my son to see that I was on the right side of the space, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's like, here's the thing, like the decentralized AI space that we live in is very
Yeah.
niche at this point. It's small, it's very tiny compared to the massive enterprise of centralized AI. But
Yeah.
what I believe is that through authenticity, through filtering out vaporware and projects that are um, that are there to shill the bag, so to say, as compared to projects that are here to solve a problem. It's important that we make that distinction. It's important as technologists. It's important that we educate the people. Like we need to get this message formulated in a way that anybody can understand it. Like and which is a big challenge. And then we need to add resources to authentic, decentralized, independent AI, instead of just like, oh, this looks like a sweet project that is their token's gonna blow up, kind of thing.
Yeah. And everybody, like, so what happened with DeepIn and what happened with AI, like everybody actually jumped on the bandwagon
Yeah,
of this token pump, like the way, like, and it was the topic which where we started to converse in, right?
yeah,
That the everybody just jumped on a bandwagon and they just wrote AI to their projects because they saw that this is something which is heating up, and we should really be there, and we should definitely ride the wave and see where we are going to be in next few years. And what happened eventually is that they saturated the whole space with a lot of vaporware. And like, I would even say, I would go to an extent that say that the companies which are boasting, I don't want to really go ahead and say that they are not doing good or they're not innovating, but the
they're
AI part
stuck.
is just, yeah, is still not there. And they're trying to saturate the market with no reason at all, because just because of the economic angle of crypto is attached to it, and they do not understand what kind of power they fathom if they do not, if they tend to fail in it, and if they tend to succeed as well. There are two ways to take it.
Yeah, yeah.
What I would say, that what independent AI has been doing it to standardize it. Like, what do you think would be the activities to really standardize most of these things and actually filter out a lot of vaporware throughout?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are projects that are aiming at the political structure, and I have close colleagues that are aiming in that direction. But in my view, it has to land in the enterprise space. It has to land in the use case. In other words, the way it works is that if you have a good idea, or if you have an altruistic idea, but your the use case doesn't make economic sense, it's not gonna make an impact that's gonna turn heads. And so
Yep.
it's like with Spheron, with Exhibits, with 6079, with Wire Network. I mean, these are projects that are economically very viable. Like, but what you had to do at Spheron is you had to focus on creating something that is powerful, and that you had to focus on something that provides a solution to white space
Yep.
in the industry, and that's what you
Exactly.
guys
And as
built.
robust as, yeah.
That's what you guys built and are continuing to build. And what's required there is is not being tempted by the short-term gain of saying, like, you get to a point in the build where you have a thing, kind of, you got a good idea, which is what these other projects kind of did. They're like, well, GPUs, well, distributed networks, well, everybody plugs them in, okay, this is what we're doing, and
1
then
million
here's the sweet.
devices.
Yeah, and a what?
They claim 1 million GPUs. So yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah, it's like, like this GPU, you know,
yeah.
it's like, what?
So
But yes, exactly. And so, like, what you did and what Exhibits did is built a thing that it functions for AI. You have traction with, with organizations and projects that are using your GPUs in an efficient, state of the art way, and you're providing a solution to white space that exists. And that took the ability to, that took temperance, that took moments of, like, okay, like, we could make this statement, apply these resources to marketing, or we could
yeah.
continue to build and create a thing that works, and trust that, that having a real thing will be viable across the, the investment, network, and across, adoption. And you were right, because you guys are successful, and that's a long-term view. The short-term view of shield the bag is exactly what we were talking about at the top of the call. It's like, saturate the market, and really saturate the market, like, really
Yeah.
saturate the market, to where it's like organizations like you and Exhibits are eclipsed by these, like, rotund vaporware meme coins, overfunded meme coins.
And like that was the frustration at first, like, because we were very frustrated
Yeah,
at it, because like, you see, like, believe me, like, if you're in Olympics and you see that there is some player who is definitely on steroids and who's
yeah,
beating
yeah,
you,
yeah,
and there
yeah,
you are training every fucking day. So
yeah,
so yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah,
couldn't go out, like, so
yeah,
that was the frustration at first. But once we saw that there is a lot of usage that is coming through, and right now today, like, there is something which is very interesting that happened, and which happened yesterday with Prashant, and he was demoing our product, and somebody leased out an H100 in just 20
yeah,
seconds.
yeah,
And the happiness we had on our faces, like, wow, what we have built, and that happened on chain, from
yeah,
payment to the leasing, from matchmaking, and we were so happy around it, because
yeah,
it
yeah,
actually works, it's actually scalable, it's actually robust. And once you see the beauty of the product coming through, and you can see that now people can actually utilize it, because we are in this siloed
hmm,
world of Web3, where
yeah,
there are not actual users. It's good to see that there are things which are being built which can actually scale to more than a million users,
hmm,
because we haven't seen what would happen. You see that there is a lot of infra being built in Web3, and right now it's the right time. But the problem with a lot of infra is that there is a lot of vaporware.
yeah,
And I'm kind of into this sense of understanding that, would independent AI would be a benchmark for all of the AI projects which is coming into the space? Like, would it act as a benchmarking position, or as a consortium which gets allowed, which actually approves them towards not being scammy to a point, or understanding that? Would you vision that at some point of time, like?
well, I think, again, like, it comes back to, I mean, the goal is to make decentralized independent AI the global standard. It's like, when the internet was developed, the I mean, the story behind how it became, completely open source is remarkable, because originally there were many players that were grasping at control. And there's been different moments in time where there was organizations that, organizations, enterprises, and governments that were trying to, step in and claim control, but it essentially became a wildfire. And that is the goal with independent AI. And in the beginning, it was a small group of individuals that saw the trajectory and that moved the needle towards the goal, towards the outcome. And this is why this is part of my hope. And at this point, I mean, it's hope. Like at this point, it's like just a little personal TMI maybe, but like I'm a um I let's say that like I believe in maybe a power outside of myself, and maybe that power is like connectivity between other humans, or just like the operating system of humans is more than meets the eye, right? And I believe ultimately that, if you think about the world, and you think about our world and biology, there's one thing that's true, and that's that there is a positive, like a positive energy that is what life is. It's like if I get a cut on my hand, I don't have to do anything in that and my body and the universe is going to heal it. It's going to make it. And the existence of humans, the existence of you and I being here today and speaking with one another. So I believe that that's true on a macro scale as well. And I believe especially that the more energy, the more individuals, the more thought cycles are applied towards a positive good, that it can flourish. And so I believe that that is true. Because like if we look at it, look, it's like the trajectories that exist with centralized AI right now, it looks like the Terminator's coming. It looks like the worst case scenario is coming, right? I mean, and
Yeah,
it's like, bro, it's like we have wars, we have pandemics, we
yeah,
have financial collapse looming, but
yeah.
nothing is more serious than this. And everybody's just like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like just like, whoa, I don't know, oh, cool, AI, oh great, I made a picture, you know what I mean? And it's like, meanwhile, this tidal wave that
Yeah.
we just don't even we can't even fathom.
Realize like what is happening in the back end of it, and that's very rightly put. Like that's very rightly put, because it's all masked, right? You put the consensus in a hallucination so that
Yes,
you can lead to doing a lot of stuff around it.
yes.
So I really feel like it sounds like, it would sound like, if I'm right, it would sound like as a prophecy, like, so. But I think it's very amazing to that we are trying to resolve this and logically understand why it needs to be changed. And
Yeah, and man, here's the thing. Like what as a marketer, I'm a marketer first. Like that's like I'm a marketer. That's what I do. And what does that mean? That means that I tell a story. And hopefully I tell a story about my project that's compelling enough. First of all, that the project is compelling enough to inspire me to be the storyteller that I am, to tap into my creativity, to tap into that higher level that I was speaking about, that enables me to transmit, not only create and build the story and collaborate, but also distribute it in a way that touches as many people as possible. And that is what we need to do first. We need to tell this story in a way, Prakash, that people understand what you and I understand. That, like,
yeah,
even if they don't get the deep back end biz, that they get the story. And if they do, my belief is that there'll be mass adoption and support of decentralized AI. The other thing is, in addition to the back end, which you and I, base layer, buddy, we're the base layer, right? But like up the stack, we got to support Venice AI. We got to support projects that are decentralized, and we got to show these projects. We got to we have to put these out front, and that's part of what independent AI is. 6079 is a media organization, essentially. Like, that's what they're fantastic at, is producing incredible media. And that's why they spun up the Independent AI Institute. So, like, that's job one, is telling the story and distributing the story, touching people on freaking Instagram and TikTok, where they're like in that haze, and get the story across. And then the next piece is on our end,
Yeah.
which is applying resources and maintaining the vision, even when it makes sense to divert
I
from
think
a business
that's
standpoint.
Yeah, that's like, and it's amazing that you see the two way of the coin itself, where you have to like the plaintiff is to get understand what people are utilizing every day, because the end consumer doesn't really understand like what is really happening in the back end. Like for example,
Right.
I just taught my mom to use ChatGPT. She's a
Yeah.
professor, so she kind of like uses it for everything, and she thinks that it's her friend now. So
Yes.
it has absolutely seeped in, and now my dad's a lawyer, so he asks almost everything. And I truly have to tell this story because how ChatGPT has become better than Google in so many ways, because
Oh,
it
so
was
many
a hassle
ways.
to teach my mom to utilize Google and to utilize all of that. And she was not so tech savvy, but now she literally has fun with Chat GPT. Like, kudos to the OpenAI team, like, because understand one thing, like, to seep into life in such way and so quickly is truly an understatement, and people don't understand it. So for an end user, the experience is something which really matters, right? It
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
matter what is happening in the back end. It doesn't matter what kind of LLM it is using, what kind of SLM it is using, and that's our job to take care of. But the most important part is the experience layer is truly what matters in the end. Like, Uber is something which is so straightforward, and it makes money on arbitrage. Similarly, many of the apps, it's so straightforward and does arbitrage, and the only reason they are in the market is because of their experience layer. And that's what Web3 really needs to work upon, is the experience layer. And we have to get off our silos. We have to break out of it,
Yeah.
not just consumer apps, but we have to break out of the experience layer into DeFi, into finances, into anything that it shouldn't feel like Web3. And
Right.
I really love the point where you said that Venice, because I was speaking to David from Morpheus, and he really
Yeah.
brought it up. And he was like, I
Did you have
don't
him on the
use.
show?
No, I haven't yet. They
You got to have him on the show,
sometime
man.
soon. Yeah, yeah. Their love for decentralization is also pretty pretty strong. Like, I
Yeah.
I love how Morpheus has been doing around, and would love to have them soon as well. But once he made me understand that the experience layer is something which is very important right now and which needs to be built
Yeah.
throughout, I feel that is somewhere we need to really work up upon. But tell me about the AI price fight. Like, I was going through, and it is one of the questions as well in our uh, memo. What is AI price fight? I saw Mike did Street Fighter 3 in in DAI day, and that was
Yeah.
very interesting. But I
Yeah.
really want to understand what AI price fight is, and if you'll tell us more about it.
So it's basically it's Street Fighter, right? But then it's hacked, and the characters in Street Fighter are AI agents, and you provide them with prompts, and through the prompting, you tell them how to react to certain attacks, when to block, like what strategies to use. There's a plethora of prompts that you can add, and in the background, there's GPUs that are underneath it, that are there. The proof of inference is occurring as a result of the AI prize fight engaging. So it's absolutely brilliant, and that's sort of like the impetus, or that's the core of 6079 actually. Like, they also have one with Pong. Do you know what Pong is? Of course you don't, man. You're
Yeah.
way too young. You're too young, bro. I'm talking Atari
No.
2600. It's like It's like you have these two, the two
I
players.
remember yeah. Oh shit.
Bing, bing, bing. Yeah.
So, but like, what is happening with Pong exactly? Like, do I give a
So the two,
prompt to?
the two AIs are playing Pong, and they're it's creating proof of inference through that process.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what I that's see. This is the thing I like about 6079. Honestly, they do very lucrative stuff, like which is
yeah,
happens with which really gets her like eyeballs for sure.
yeah,
But and they like from this getting these eyeballs to creating a societal impact.
yeah,
Like I feel that is somewhere you guys really make sense. Where you say that we're trying to make a story. For a story to make sense, it should have all of the parts running in. But where do you feel like what could be the impact of independent AI in next few years? Like let's take 2 to 5 years, like not something broad, but something more of 2 to 5 years. What do you feel? You have so many projects joined in. What's going to be next?
yeah. I mean, so for the Independent AI Institute, like 2 years out, we want it to be a massive media organization for one thing, and we want to have thousands of projects under our wing. We want to create a layer of DD for VCs. So Spheron comes. I mean, you guys are already a member, but when we want to create a certification that you come to us and that to be a member of the consortium or rather the institute, you're accredited, and through that accreditation, that is a layer of DD for decentralized AI. So if you're an investor, that aspect. So if you're like one of these, like one of these GPU projects that we were discussing at the top of the call, and if you're an investor that's trying to figure out what's going on, what
Yeah.
the f is going on with this, and beyond just the shilling and the marketing, that you would that organization would come to Independent AI Institute and be accredited or not. We would do the DD on that, and
Yeah.
we would accredit it if it's legitimate, if it's performing what it says is performing. If we'll find out if it has a million GPUs or not,
Yeah.
and what that actually
So-
means, and so that's the layer. And then we want to provide education. We want to go to colleges, and we want to provide a curriculum around this topic. And then at the top layer, we want to tell this story, man. We want to tell the story in a digestible way that our moms can understand
exactly.
in one sentence, dude.
That's that's so beautifully put, man. And like I would super supporter of independent AI for sure. Like because there are so many, and right now we are focusing on many factors, which are like decentralized AI has a lot of challenges itself.
Yeah,
Like
oh yeah.
even if we say inferencing, even if we say data training and modeling, and it has been pointed out multiple times. Like, what do you feel are the challenges which most of the decentralized AI projects come through,
Yeah.
and which are like the top line challenges which lies into that part?
Well, I think it's like, I think it comes down to, okay, so with compute, the subject that we've been dancing around for this call, which is that at this particular moment, a decentralized model for compute, geolocated, geo-distributed rather, random devices connected to a network, does not work for training serious AI LLMs,
Yeah.
right? And
And
and go ahead.
yeah, latency is one of the biggest parts.
Right,
People do
right,
not
latency.
understand that.
Yeah, and the decentralized model is there's a lot of challenges around training and inference because of latency, but there are steps toward it, and ultimately, like so Exhibits approaches this Web 2, really. Exabits approaches, they spun up the core team at Exabits have spun up hundreds of data centers over the past decade and a half, and they operate, manage, deploy these data centers. And so they utilize AIDC, AI ready data centers to build clusters, H100 clusters, and then allocate the compute resources a la carte. So it's SLAs, But then the decentralized aspect is that they're tokenizing the compute, and they're enabling anyone to invest in the compute economy, which is another aspect of decentralization, which is ownership. And that's another critical piece of the puzzle, which is another brilliant aspect of Web3, that you can distribute ownership. And so as you well know, the currency of the future is compute, not just the chips, but the
Yeah.
actual literal compute that starts at the energy layer, goes to the GPU layer and the data center layer.
At the very bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the challenges are, like, I want to live in a world where I can, like, the where you can have a million GP or a million devices on a network, and when they're idle, they can be accessed without latency to provide inference and to a serious AI project. And so what does that require? That requires cycles, man. That requires
Yeah.
developer cycles. That requires resources to contribute. So that's we got to get compute down to being very, very, very viable and very easy to access in that way.
The
So that's the
accessibility
challenge.
part is something which we at Spheron take very seriously, like,
Mm-hmm.
because we have been into the space for so long, and believe me, like, it stretches out to a point where we seek that there is so much that can be done in terms of accessibility and robustness, and even for local inferencing as well. Because I think there is an interesting project called Pin AI that is doing interesting stuff, and also Alex, which was before from Exolabs, has showcased that how it can be locally inferenced upon, and that is where we focused on to what we created. Like, we created something called Node. I don't know if you went through our node itself, but the beauty of Node is that anybody can actually connect their GPUs on top of the network, and which is not in a way where it is just showing as a inactive or a active GPU on top of it, but it shares different workloads on it, where people can actually utilize that compute to run their day-to-day tasks. So for example, if you want to run a Jupyter notebook, which goes out and which trains on a very small model, and which provides you, let's say I'm a student, I'm in my college dorm room, and I want to understand, let's say, how many some XYZ inference I want to out from my data, which is my own data which I have on it. Now, if I go out and if I try to do it on AWS, Azure, or GCP, it is practically impossible to do that right now. If I need a sophisticated machine, let's say an H100 or a A6000, which would have a very less inferencing time, and yet I cannot do it on distributed compute as well, because there is no player in this segment which would provide you distributed compute off the go. As everybody has started preaching so much, in today's world there are so less players where you can, because at the end of the day it is actually running on runpod, or it is actually running on AWS,
Yeah.
or like, yeah. So the whole segment of preaching so much, like, I don't like it again. Like, I understand that we just yo-yo out of to the same topic again, but we have to understand that as a compute company, what we try to really relay is that anybody can do it on top of a protocol. So let's say Doe can go ahead and spin up his own kind of compute made for his specific DOM, which is utilizing a synthetic data. So that makes it truly composable and accessible for everybody.
Yep.
Now, this would lead to people utilizing a lot of compute versus me doing thousand different stuff, like doing inferencing myself, doing data training myself, doing
Yeah.
modeling myself. I cannot ponder into so many spaces I do not have expertise in, and that's what Spheron is trying to do right now. And that's why we love the whole idea of collaborating together in whatever way you can, because you cannot compete in this, and you're
Yeah.
competing with web 2 giants. Like, come on, like, be real. Like,
Yeah.
people don't understand what capital gain really means. Like, no matter how much funding uh you are able to receive today, you are going against the whole ethos of web 2. And you have to understand that if you're a company which, let's say, raises $1 million, out of that 30% goes to your compute usage. And that's true. Like, if
Yeah.
you're building an
Yeah.
AI company just out of SF, it's impossible for you to not shell out more than 250K just specifically for compute.
Right.
And you do not know how they store your data. Like, the question comes next. But we need more solutions which are robust and as easy and accessible as web 2 companies are. Like,
Yeah.
just like that, there is no friction, right? And I feel Exhibits has been doing amazing stuff in utilizing and understanding the data center part. Like, I truly love them for that. And
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
to you made us relay that part, and
Yeah.
that has been amazing. And now with the AI Institute, I'm supremely excited what you have done, though. Like, honestly, believe me that there are so less players in this market who are truly, like, it's the 80/20 rule, what I believe in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's absolutely amazing to speak to 20% people who are doing things for good and
Same,
uh,
brother.
creating
Same,
amazing
brother.
stories around.
Yeah. It was funny because when we met in Dubai, it was like, you know, you guys, you immediately told, you were like, hey, we're not, I'm not going to name the name, but you're like, we're not that. Cause I was like, that's the first thing, that was a test, man. Cause I was like, what do you guys up to? I didn't share with you. I didn't have my swag on, you know? And I was like, so what do you guys up to? And you're like, we're, you know, GPU compute, da, 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 da. I'm like, so sort of like da, 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 da. And you're like, no, not like that at
do,
all.
n- do not disrespect us. Come on.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Do not disrespect us, buddy. You guys are like almost bounced me, and then I immediately like I caught the vibe. I'm like immediately was like, yo, same. We're on the same level. Yeah. Then it's been
Yeah, I remember. I vividly remember uh, that conversation, and that was amazing. And I
yeah.
feel we find more people like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, it's really important, and you're so dead on about UX UI and about like living in a world where the Web3 solutions are as robust and user friendly as the Web2 counterparts. I mean, Venice is a good example of that. Like,
Yeah,
there's you know, man, it's like for the funding that that OpenAI ChatGPT has to deploy the product, like Venice is not that far away. Like Venice is
yeah,
like very close.
yeah.
And it's like
Absolutely.
there's like a couple things like they're still getting their, you know, upload a file, that kind of thing together, but as far as the chat function, it's just as good.
On par.
And yeah, yep, yep, yep. So yeah, man. So I'm really excited, man. I'm really excited to connect with you guys, and you know, just to show the bag a little bit on my end, or show our project. Like, we're gonna be at permissionless, and we're super excited about it. We're gonna do DAI Day, and on the
Yeah.
9th, from 10 to 8 p.m. Morpheus, Exhibits, Wire Network 6079 are hosting it, and then we have projects like Pond, we have projects like Akash, we have projects like I'm forgetting
Sphere on.
everybody right now. What's that? What's
Sphere
that?
on.
Spheron, yes indeed,
Yeah.
yes indeed. Well, you guys can't come though. We were hoping that you would be able to be on the panel.
Yeah, it's
On
something last minute. Like, you have to understand, like, it's a 17-hour flight, and there is something like, unfortunately, we cannot be there.
It's all
But
good.
yeah,
It's
we're
all
gonna be
good.
there. We are in there in spirits.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And you guys are in the branding, like Spheron's logo. is in the branding. Like, you guys are part of the
Oh,
yeah, your guys logo, like everybody, like the consortium members, we support that, we run that. And you don't, yeah, we don't require, like, no sponsorship required for that. Like, we definitely have sponsors, but we're really trying to push this. We're really trying to create a world where projects like Spheron and projects like, Exhibits, Pond, these organizations have a, not only a voice, but have, like you were saying, like, it's so modular. Like, there's these niche, instead of it just being one big thing like OpenAI, where they're like, here's
yeah.
the LLM, the model, and the compute, and everything in between, and the middleware. We have all these things in these separate slivers. And so the idea is that we unify this front, and so permissionless DAI day, if you're in town, and if you're at permissionless, please come by. Please, like, reach out to me and connect with me, and share with me what you're up to. Share with me your thoughts. Share with me your ideas around telling the story, your project, etc., etc., etc. But we want to see everybody. We want to see everybody who's interested, because the thing is that, like, get involved, man. If
Yeah.
you're out there and you're wondering what to do, get involved. Get involved. Like, the real projects are open source and decentralized, so you have access. But even if you're not accessing on that level, like, make sure that the apps you use on your daily basis, if there's a decentralized version that makes sense and that works well, you don't just get sucked into the branding machines of these massive organizations, and that you choose the decentralized version, because not only does it create sovereign, pristine, secure data exchange, but it also oftentimes just works better. I mean, that's the other thing with decentralization. When it works, it's better.
And like now is the time to do that. Become the vessel of independent AI and truly understand decentralization. So if you're watching this, me, and if you're going to be in permissionless, you have to see Low no matter what.
Yeah.
And he's one of the nicest person in
Ah,
actual
thanks,
AI
man. Back
segment.
at you.
So and would be absolutely amazing to catch you in some one more episode of Tech AI Infusion, and absolutely
Bro,
pleasure to have you
like,
today.
there's things that at permissionless, there's announcements that we're going to be dropping. And I mean, I can't talk about it right now, but I'm dying, because there's yeah, bro. Like there's like it's I'll just, like, the teaser is, so WireNet. Are you familiar with Wire Network?
Yes, yes, we are
Do you know?
connected.
Do you know you what?
Yeah, we are connected to them. Like
Okay,
I think I had a call with Magnus.
Magnus. Yep.
Yeah, so I think that was the last conversation. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so then you know that it's no gas, all chains, lightning fast.
yeah, yeah,
So no
I'm aware.
gas, all
Yeah.
chains. It's a block. There's a blockchain with no gas, all chains, instantaneous. It's like, I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's like, as it's like this, it's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Wire. I mean, seriously, like, it's especially for the AI agent economy that's coming. And I mean,
They're
it's so
doing
bananas. So
very interesting stuff. Yeah. Like I truly feel that I was going through the documentation. I really understood what they have been doing. That is like that comes out of true engineering. You cannot do that just like that. Like
yeah, I
that
mean,
requires a lot of research, infra, a lot of things, and that is what they're doing is pretty amazing.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, it's like they didn't stop at the idea, which is where so many Web3 things, like, oh, we have this idea. This is the whole thing this is the whole conversation, right?
Yeah,
They've been in the game for 7 years, and they really, like, they patiently continued to develop cycles, cycles, cycles. And, like, they resisted the temptation to just be like, oh, this is what we're doing. Cool. People
yeah.
like it. Here's the money. Yay. You know what I mean? And now they've built this very, 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 like, people don't understand yet. When I tell people this, even people in our space, they're like, they do not get what the impact is. And so there's announcements around Wire, around 6079,
Yep.
just around the whole crew that are just
That
really
is really
bonkers.
building it. So
Yes.
I'm so bummed that I'm not there. Like now I feel it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
soon, man, soon I'm gonna see you pretty soon. Like I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if you
mean,
guys are gonna be in DEF CON. Like if
well, I'm not sure yet. It's always last minute for us, right? It's like for you guys, it's always like a week before we're like, okay,
yeah,
yeah. So it's likely, but let's call it 50-50 at this point, to be honest. But man, I mean, I'm going to be hitting the road this year. Like, I'm going to be seriously hitting the road. So, I'm looking forward to, we will definitely connect again, my brother, because
absolutely.
yeah.
And if you're doing something around IBW, so there is India Blockchain Week, and if you guys are really excited to do this, like we
When's
just
India
recently,
Blockchain Week?
it's in December. Hashed emergent team, shout out to them because we just partnered with them
What team?
to run that in Bangalore. Hashed emergent, that
Okay.
is for emergent markets. Irshad is the guy who takes care of it, and they are doing great stuff in India, like putting India on the map in terms of blockchain events, and ETH India happens and all of that stuff happens. It's pretty huge. Last year we
Dude,
did a conference which had around 1,600 people.
dang. I don't think I'm allowed to
It's
say this,
crazy.
but seriously, like, I am not allowed to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I freaking love Indian people, man. Like, Indian people are I love Indian people, man, so much. Like, there's such a vibe, dude. Like, there's such it's like chill but on the game, and like just super kind, and like emotionally intelligent, but at the same time grinders. Like, you guys are willing to grind like nobody I've ever known of. I'm not supposed to say any of that, but I just said it. And like one of my best
Yeah,
friends,
thank you so much for your kind words, man. It truly matters,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I feel that really shows, that reciprocates in your day to day stuff. And when we are speaking, you're always so warm, and it's amazing to see. There are very less people like you in this industry. I'm going to be honest. Now, I'm
Oh
not
man,
allowed to say this, but yeah, go. I reciprocated it.
I feel
So
like I got
yeah,
part of it. It's like almost like I told you already. Like, I have my friend Sahil, and Sahil,
yeah,
yeah,
he's a
I
good
worked with him.
friend. Yeah,
Oh, dude, and you know him, right? Like,
yeah, I
you
know
have a,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Sahil, I met him. So I worked with him at QuickNode, because I worked at my entrance into Web3 was QuickNode, and I worked with him at QuickNode, and he was my intern, man. And he quickly turned in, yeah, dude. He was like, and that was the first person that was from India that I worked super closely with, and I was just like, this dude. I mean, first of all, he was like my boss. He was like the CEO. He was so relentless, but in that chill Indian way, where you're like, hey man, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you're like, hey, but just consistent and chill. So finally, my boss was
Yeah.
like, all right, man. Like, the way he came at me, he's like, all right, there's this guy. Just talk to him. You know what I mean? And he'll be your intern, and it'll be cool. And then this dude was like my right hand man. This dude was like, I swear to God, this dude, any white space I had, this dude was like gobbling it up. And then he
Shout
just,
out to Sahil.
oh, dude, he was so hardcore. And now, I mean, he's big boss over there, dude. He's crushing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so like, I met him for the first time in Dubai. Or no, Turkey. I met him
Oh,
in
DevCon.
Istanbul.
Yeah, last year.
DevCon.
Yeah.
I met him, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what's up, homie? And like, and it was funny too, because like, I have never been to Turkey. Like, and he was like just really trying to take care of me and make sure I didn't get like hustled, make sure he's like, oh,
Amazing.
like no, the cab, like this cab, not that cab. And it was just like, it was like, I was like, man, I was like, dude, you just need to roll me around in a wheelchair or something. Like, he was taking so scary. But yeah, he's
Amazing.
but he actually was part of, I think, like, we meet people in our lives that impact us in a way that impact the way that we are as a person, right? and he was definitely a guy. And then I feel like people of India as a result, like the energy that I get from people of India, like he like the war, like the things, those sweet compliments that you were paying me, like I feel like I chilled way out as a result of being close with this dude. Like I was like, oh, I can just be myself. Like I can just chill. I can, like, instead of trying to be, I don't know, woo woo in the space and stuff. And I feel like
Yeah.
that yeah. So
Being
anyway,
real. Yeah, being real, man.
yeah,
Giving up
yeah,
to being real. That's rare,
for
and
real.
that's beautiful to see.
Yeah,
And
brother.
again, it was amazing to have you do on this. And I'm going to end the stream. Thank you so much for people for watching this. Catch Doe at Permissionless. Big ups to Independent AI Institute, and Spiron is always there for you. Bye bye.
Big up to Spheron forever, man. Thank you